Hi, good day, Board of Panels. I am Ruel Ramos Jr.
And I am Arra Planteras.
I am Mae F. Gamban.
I'm Justine M. Intencia.
I am John Kate Neña Aniñon.
I am Junard A. Alcala.
We are here to present our study entitled Engineer's Dilemma, Structural Integrity of Residential Buildings to Withstand Earthquakes in the Province of Davao del Sur.
Why we conduct this research study? We all know that earthquake is one of the most deadly and costly natural phenomena where it causes dilemma in the community. Hence, recently, the greatest earthquake with a 6.9 magnitude with foreshocks not lesser than magnitude 5.9 wrecked 33 weak houses and buildings in the locality. It is indeed observed that a problem in the integrity of the buildings in the aspects of earthquake resistant prior to the records of and data considers the damaged properties and loss of lives throughout the Philippines. So that it urged us to conduct this study with the hopes of knowing what are the factors affecting the failure of structures and factors contributing the quality type of the buildings in Davao del Sur. With this, the locality will be able to gain knowledge and be able to generate mechanism and to secure buildings quality to ensure safety to everyone. And for the objective of the study, this study pursued to answer the demands of the statement of the study, and it is conducted to determine the factors why building collapse and withstand during earthquake, and to know the effective designs for the building to withstand earthquakes, and to know the level of awareness of the residents in Davao del Sur in terms of structural capacity of their building. And for the statement of the study, specifically, this study sought to answer the profession and location of the random respondents of Davao del Sur, and to know the factors that affect the structural integrity of the buildings, and also to determine the number of building stories and building materials used in their respective houses, and to know the status of the residential buildings after the 2019 consecutive earthquakes. This study also sought to answer the level or to find out the level of awareness of the residents in Davao del Sur in terms of the capacity of their respective houses. Next.
Scope and limitation. The study covered the determination of the factor on how to minimize the effect of earthquake on buildings on Davao del Sur. This also includes the structural requirement, the factor affecting the failure, the engineer's mitigation, the mitigation done to protect the building from earthquake. The respondents of the building were 80 residents who have experienced the 2019 consecutive earthquake and 20 engineers, both coming from Davao del Sur. For theoretical framework, this study anchored on the 4 virtues of earthquake-resistant building. According to this theory, there are 4 features that the designer should be considered to protect the building, to prevent the building from collapsing. These are the structural configuration, lateral stiffness, lateral strength, and ductility. Next. For schematic diagram shows the interplay between the independent variables and dependent variables of the study. So for the hypothesis, there is a residence house profile that has a significant effect on the status of the residential building after 2019 consecutive earthquake in Davao del Sur. Next.
Methodology. For source of data, the sample came from the assessing group, specifically civil engineers, contractors, and residents of the province of Davao del Sur. Since these respondents are easy to reach and have the capability to track the status of the building and experience of such phenomena. And the expert can also assess our curiosity and investigation about the topic of why structures fails and withstand earthquakes. Next, for gathering procedure, the questionnaire was in Google Forms since the province is still going strict social gatherings. Thus, face-to-face approach is highly discouraged. Next. For statistical tool, we use frequency and percentage, weighted mean, and correlation analysis. Next.
For the presentation and analysis of data, for respondents' profile, 80% of the respondents come from the civilian sector. Next. And the most number of respondents is located at Digo City, while the other are on the surrounding areas of DAVAO del Sur. Next. Next. We have generated two types of data for engineers and for residents. For engineers, we include the factors affecting the integrity of the building. The first factor is the design of the building structure. As we can see, 6 out of 10 statements have the same rank, which is concerned with following structural code, identifying existing fault lines, and considering materials to be used, are believed by our respondents to have a lesser impact damages on the building, and according to the engineers, and it also supports the claim of Azahar 2011. Next, that low quality material leads to building defects and failures. And for the second factor, the implementation, as shown in the figure, statements 1 and 5 have the same rank, which suggests that frequent supervision and strict implementations does really affect the integrity of the building. Next. For residents' data, most of the residents is living in a single-story building, and the materials used in constructing their houses are concrete hollow blocks. Next. For the 2019 consecutive earthquake, the status of structure, 61.45% of the respondents responded that they have seen A damages on the residential areas. Next, and among those damages are wall cracks and column cracks. And two among of the 103 respondents claimed that the residential building had collapsed due to weak beams and weak columns. Next. On the level of awareness of the residents on the structural integrity of the building, it is shown that 20.48% of them is aware of the maximum resistant capacity of their building to withstand earthquake, while others do not know and have no idea about their residential building. And for the attitude towards constructing a building, 91.57% residents give more importance to the design of the structure and are willing to pay whatever it takes to just ensure the stability and safety of the building. Next, and for the correlational, we use person correlation to correlate the number of stories and material used to the status of structure after 2019 earthquake. And we found out that the number of stories doesn't have a significant effect on the status of the structure, while material used in constructing the building does seem to have a significant effect on the status of structure after the 2019 earthquake. Next.
Conclusion. Based on our study, we have concluded that in order to minimize the damaging effect of earthquake in a residential building, there are two main factors that needs to be considered. First is the design of the structure, and second is the project implementation. For the design of the structure, it is a factor to follow the standard and specification of the Structural Code of the Philippines, as well as to consider the type of materials to be used and consider the physical conditions of the site. And it is also important to know if there is an existing fault lines within the vicinity. And for the implementation phase, we have concluded that it is a factor that the construction plan should be strictly adhered. And conducting a supervision before and after a specific task is done. The factors that have been accumulated in our study is supported by our theory of four virtues of earthquake-resistant buildings, as stated earlier, which states that the designers should give importance to the four features such as structural configuration, lateral stiffness, lateral strength, and ductility for the building to become earthquake-resistant. Next. We also have concluded that the type of material used has an effect on the status of the residential building after the 2019 consecutive earthquake, specifically on the type of wall used. As shown in the table, the majority of residents who claim that their property has been damaged use concrete hollow blocks, whereas those who claim their buildings has not been affected or damaged use lightweight materials in their walls. Thus, we have seen from this data that utilizing light materials in wall construction is less prone to damage than using concrete hollow blocks. Furthermore, from the 51 residents that responded that their houses were damaged from the consecutive 2019 earthquakes, 56% of them have stated that their walls were damaged or have cracks on their walls, as shown in the pie graph. Next. Similarly, according to the post-assessment study of the 2013 magnitude 7.1 earthquake in Bohol, Philippines that was conducted by Nagit et al., they have also observed that wall cracks is the most evident damage, and it is due to the lack of steel reinforcement, non-staggered layering of block, and or weak structural framing. Next. Moreover, we have concluded that the residents are aware about the type of beams, columns, and walls that their house used, but a big percent of the participants answer that they do not have an idea on what is the maximum intensity of earthquake that their residential building can withstand. And also, the residents have no idea whether there may be an existing fault lines in their vicinity or not. Thus, we have concluded that the level of awareness of the residents in terms of earthquake building is low. Next.
Recommendations. Based on our findings and conclusion, our recommendations are for the civil engineers or contractors, so critical planning and integrating all the design parameters and good construction practices. So in planning, they should integrate, it is in accordance with the NECP or the National Structural Code of the Philippines, and good construction practices like strict supervision during the building construction, and also using a good construction methodology. For the LGU, initiate trainings and seminars on earthquake preparedness, and then strict inspection and assessment on buildings to ensure that buildings are safe for the humans and for the resident. So they must hire professionals and experts to ensure the structural integrity of their houses or buildings, and to know what are materials needed to be used in your houses. And number 2 is engage and attend seminars or programs of the government regarding to earthquake preparedness or any disasters and calamities, and also with regard to the structural integrity of their houses or buildings.
And this is some references presented in our paper that is mostly attached at the discussion of the results. Next. Safety starts with awareness. Awareness starts with you. And awareness starts with you. This phrase means you're being and remaining aware of your safety and the safety of others by identifying safety issues and potential hazards to yourself and others. We need to put people in their safety in every aspect. Awareness starts with us, which tells people that we matter, our safety matters, and we can do something about it. And that's all. Thank you.